This script is about the use of pills. More specifically, the dangerous abuse of pills. All sorts of pills, all colors, all shapes, all of them smaller than a bullet, but just as deadly in the wrong hands. When we set out to make this film, we had in mind a story much like other stories we have filmed. And we began doing our research, making our investigation into the facts about popping pills, dropping uppers and downers. Now, what we learned in the process of doing this had such a profound impact on us that we decided to let you experience what we did in the same way. To that end, we'll show you 3 typical everyday cases. The cases of Andy, Kris, and Mark. Glue sniffing, or inhaling spray can aerosols, is a sadly false escape from responsibilities and daily problems. It's a hazardous, risky way of getting high, of achieving a feeling of intoxication or euphoria. It causes irritation and infection. It confuses. It distorts. It destroys. The volatile chemicals inhaled can so easily cause permanent damage to kidneys, lungs, to the liver, the bone marrow, even the brain. Hopefully, these 2 young, ill-advised sniffers were found out in time. Their habit is a foolish and dangerous one. With this, Mike and Howie agree completely, but unhappily for their own misguided and equally dangerous reasons.
There's a couple real idiots for you.
Why? Because they want to get high?
You're putting me on. Getting high can be really far out, but not with a bag and a can.
Why not? Too much, man. Too heavy. Dig it? How can you stash that stuff?
There's a better way to get high, if you're man enough to handle it. Are you?
Handle what?
Pills, man. Pills. Uppers, for a trip with a real kick.
The various amphetamines, uppers, also known as pep pills, eye-openers, co-pilots, and many other slang names, come in various forms. These drugs are stimulants that directly affect the central nervous system, the brain, and the spinal cord. One of the most common of the stimulants is a round pink or white scored tablet, amphetamine sulfate, known as Benzedrine or bennies. It is often bought on the street in rolls of several tablets wrapped in foil. Another is dextroamphetamine sulfate, known as Dexedrine or Dexies, which come in both tablet and capsule form. One of the most dangerous stimulants is methamphetamine hydrochloride, which is found in both tablet and powder form. Marketed under the name Methadrine, its slang name is meth or speed. It is extremely dangerous, and it is no exaggeration that speed kills. While these drugs do have proper medical uses under the care of a physician, their unchecked abuse has many bad effects that may lead to disaster. In serious cases, a drug psychosis resembling the mental disorder paranoid schizophrenia can result.
Here. White, on the house. Put you way out there.
Andy is reluctant. He's never tried anything before.
Come on, man, you can handle it.
Andy's flattered, and he's anxious to be accepted, to belong, to be respected by the in crowd.
What's the matter, dude? Chicken?
Who's chicken?
Well, everyone else is doing it, and Andy doesn't want to be different. He drops his first pills. During the following weeks, Andy became a steady customer of Mike. And it wasn't long before he bragged that he'd popped every pill on the market, and then some. But Andy began to change. In school, his grades dropped noticeably. He tried to imitate his new friends and adopt their ways. And he began to identify with a special antisocial group and shut out the world of reality. His behavior caused quarrels at home, and to Andy it seemed as if his parents were always nagging. It never occurred to him that he might be giving them good reasons for calling him down, and that they were only showing their concern for him. Soon he began to exhibit the typical symptoms of the stimulant pill popper. He lost his appetite. He became overactive, excitable, and argumentative. By now, Andy was psychologically dependent on the drugs. He became a heavy user. He often became confused and acted unpredictably and irrationally. He became tired to the point of exhaustion, but was unable to sleep. In order to get some rest, he began dropping downers at night. When he did doze off, he'd wake up suddenly from terrible nightmares. He had seemingly little control over himself and was quick to unreasonable violence. Andy had friends, real friends, who tried to warn him of the consequences of his habit. But like most of the drug-oriented young people, he maintained a silly ostrich-headedness about the dangers of drugs. He kept on dropping pills until, for him, it was too late. Kris comes from a nice, pleasant home. She's an only child, and she's left pretty much to herself. Her father works long hours, and her mother has a part-time job to help out. There's little home life for Kris to depend upon. In her faltering search for identity, for acceptance, she's fallen in with a certain group of schoolmates. They'd gotten into trouble occasionally. Nothing serious, cutting school, fighting, but they were headed for bigger trouble. Reds, brand name Seconal, one of the most potent of the barbiturates, a drug that depresses the central nervous system. Secobarbital sodium, a downer. Barbiturates are the opposites of amphetamines and even more dangerous when used without the supervision of a physician. There are several barbiturates on the market. All their brand names end in AL. This is Nembutal, sodium pentobarbital, yellows, widely used as a sleeping pill along with other barbiturates, such as Amytal, slang name Blue Heavens, also available in small white tablets, and Tuinal, called rainbows or double trouble in the street trade, because it is a combination of amabarbital sodium and secobarbital sodium. Barbiturates are known to drug abusers as barbs, candy, goofballs, and other slang names. They usually come in capsules, but are also made in many other forms. Barbiturates are the drugs most commonly used to commit suicide. More people commit suicide with barbiturates than with guns. Barbiturates not only create a psychological dependency, but a physical addiction as well. Your mind and your body get hooked. And the user quickly builds up a tolerance to the drug and requires regularly increased doses, making an overdose a very real possibility. And if the drug is not available, the user will suffer withdrawal symptoms, often more dangerous than those resulting from narcotics. Continued and excessive use of barbiturates will result in drowsiness, slurred speech, staggering, loss of balance, and falling. The user will become quarrelsome and increasingly unstable. He may fall into a coma. He may die. Large doses of barbiturates taken in conjunction with alcohol is particularly dangerous, producing a synergistic effect. Synergistic means the combined effects of the two depressants, alcohol and barbiturate, plus the effect of the combination. How hard it will hit you is kind of a chemical Russian roulette. It wasn't hard to get Kris to take her first reds. A little coaxing, a little flattering, and Kris was too eager to be one of the crowd to let reason interfere. It's easy to build up a barbiturate habit. Addiction comes quickly. For Kris, it did not take long. And from then on, if she did not seek help, she had only one way to go, down. Her schoolwork suffered. Her grades dropped. But she was not interested. At home, she seemed always at odds with her parents, and her personal habits and grooming became increasingly lax. Soon she required ever larger doses of the drug to satisfy her needs because of the tolerance her body had built up. Money to support her habit became a problem. She traded her wristwatch for a few rolls, telling her parents she'd lost it. And finally she began shoplifting, adding yet another grave risk to her future. Her first theft netted her a few bucks, a mere drop in the ocean of thefts, muggings, and burglaries committed by drug users to support their habit. In one metropolitan city alone, in 1 year, this amounted to $140 million. By now, Kris lived only for her drugs. She'd left and lost her real friends. But she didn't care. Her parents were at a loss to reach her, to communicate with her, and she did not seek their help, nor the help of anyone else, and soon the downers alone were not enough for Kris. She needed the added kick of alcohol. That night, Kris did not come home. That night, she died. OD. Overdose of drugs. Kris was dead, but she was not alone. The police department listed 2 more deaths that same week. All 3 victims had something in common. All 3 were 16 years of age. All 3 died of an accidental overdose of barbiturates. Besides Kris, there was one other girl. She died in an apartment where 5 of her friends were lost in the unreal world of drugs, oblivious to the very real presence of death among them. They all took drugs for kicks. But drugs offer more than kicks, much more. Like, for instance, death. This is Mark. Mark's father left home when Mark was only 9. His mother married again, but Mark never could feel close to his stepfather. Mark is bored with his home, especially since his younger brother had an accident and seems to get all his mother's attention. All she ever does for him, Mark feels, is nag, nag, nag. Mark feels a certain dissatisfaction with life, as if something is missing. Mark is well aware of the fact that several of the kids in school drop pills. So far, he hasn't dropped himself, but maybe it would make him feel good. And when Lou offers him a couple of reds, he accepts. The drowsy, peaceful, on the edge feeling Mark experienced on his first trip was most pleasant. So pleasant, in fact, that when he saw Lou again, he decided to score a few more downers from him and stock up. Pinks, escape from problems and unpleasantness, the key to a groovy, carefree high. Or, nagging in the back of Mark's mind are a lot of things he'd heard and seen in school, on TV, and magazines about the dangers of dropping pills. Probably a lot of scare propaganda, he thinks. But still, anyway, no need to make up his mind now. Later is soon enough.
All right! Beat it.
Mark was usually a good player, but today he seemed preoccupied. He didn't seem to have his mind on the game. Mark knows Willie from school, even though he is a few years older. And he knows something else about him, something important. Willie was busted for possession of drugs. He's the guy to talk to. He ought to know. And Willie does know.
I'm through with the drug scene. I put down for good this time. You're nothing special, man. Everybody's got problems. At home, in school, your friends, you name it. Everybody's got hang-ups. But no pill is gonna make them go away.
Make them easier to take, though.
That's the bummer. Your problems don't get smaller, only bigger. I'm telling you like it is. There's trouble waiting in every one of those pills. At home, your family, the man, and most of all, you yourself. It's your health. It's your life you're fooling around with. No, man. Dropping pills isn't where it's at. Freaking out, getting hooked, or busted, that's not my scene.
Mark was intelligent and strong enough to win his battle. He'll make it. I know him personally. I never knew Andy nor Kris. I didn't have the chance. The tragedies of Andy and Kris, however shattering to those close to them, are only a tiny fraction of the total picture. They're only 2 among many thousands. We're well aware that their cases, the truth about dropping pills, may be scorned and ridiculed by some young people who are themselves among the pill poppers, already hooked, who'll hear only what they want to hear. Drugs are, in the end, an enormously disappointing experience. and most students are beginning to realize it. Therefore, we're confident that the majority will want to learn the facts, and thus be able to decide their own course of action with reason and understanding. And the grim fact is that in New York City alone, one boy or girl, one young woman or young man dies every day from an accidental overdose of drugs. And across our continent, in Los Angeles, this same terrible fact holds true. Pills. The innocent-looking, often cheerfully colored little pills are responsible for the lion's share in this unreasoning, needless slaughter.